Alright, this is me talking about certain starts in SMITE now. Now, it's Season 4. Now, there are a bunch of huge changes that happened if you don't already know. So, minions spawn at the same time. They spawn at 0. And they all get to each point at 30 seconds. So, minions meet in each lane in the exact center of each lane at 30 seconds. At that same time, all buffs, all camps in the jungle, besides monsters like the fire giant and shit, they all spawn at 30 seconds. So, what it used to be is buffs would spawn at 10 seconds and you would do buff buff to lane, or you would do buff buff to lane, or with mid you would help do red and then come into lane. Now, since minions meet in the middle at the same time buff spawn, it is actually it's a detriment to you and your team if you do a buff and then go to lane. Because if you do a buff and then go to lane, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Not only are you going to lose out on creeps in the lane, let's just use mid as an example. Not only if you lose minions in mid to tower or to the enemy minions, you lose out on experience and gold. Not only that, but you will also miss out on lane pressure, because if you're walking this way and let's say you're both raw, he went straight in the mid lane. You go to red buff because you don't know that Season 4 has changed. You clear the red buff, you have red, perfect, but he's already cleared your wave by the time red buff is gone. So by the time you get here, he has a full wave and he's looking at you probably level 2. Almost level 2, not quite level 2. And you're still level 1. About halfway to level 2. So you're not only are you down on XP and gold, but also you're gonna lose gold to the tower, and you're probably gonna die if the jungler is anywhere near here. And even if you aren't, you're gonna be forced into your tower, take a lot of poke, or forced to go the long way around, which is definitely not what you want to do. So there are two options to counteract the mid issue here. So generally, with these two lanes, what you really want to do is you want to start in the actual lane in order to get lane pressure and dominance, because there's more early pressure you need on this side of the map. So getting pressure in your lanes are incredibly important, especially in mid lane. So what you want to do as the ADC and the support, let's stick with mid first. Let's stick with mid. So with mid, you start here. Why you no work? Oh, okay, whatever. So with mid, you want to go from your base all the way to your lane, and you want to wait here, preferably in the jungle, until minions spawn. And when minions come and meet, you clear the wave, you get pressure, or at least try to, and then you will go into either side of the jungle, almost certainly the side of the jungle, to help secure the jungler's buffs and elementals and such and whatnot. Now, as the duo lane, you want to do the same thing as both support and ADC. You want to kind of wait in the jungle or in lane. It doesn't really matter, but your enemies not knowing where you are is actually fairly important. So you want to wait around, wait for the minions to spawn, or start attacking each other, and then you want to go in, get lane pressure, and clear the wave as fast as you can, make the enemies have to stay in lane longer than you so that you can go in and take their purple, or do your purple buff. And then you go back to lane, and then you can see if you can control Oracle Harpies, so on and so forth. Game diverges from there. So, mid and duo lane are extremely easy, because all you really need to do is just go to lane, clear the minions, take what you can in the jungle, and then go back to lane, and then take what you can from the jungle, go back to lane. And then mid, you pretty much just follow around whoever needs you the most, whoever needs fast clear, whoever needs pressure, whoever needs a third player on that side of the map, you just go wherever you're needed. Now, with the jungle and solo sides of the map, it's actually a little bit more interesting, because there's a camp here that spawns. It's actually fairly easy to kill, and it's rather close to the lane. It doesn't take as much time to kill as a buff camp, and it doesn't do as much damage as a buff camp, but it gives similar amounts of golden experience to a buff camp. So the only real way that a jungler and solo laner could avoid going into this lane ahead of time is if they do the elemental camp and then go into lane. Now, that being said, even if you have something crazy like tier solo and Anubis jungle, you're still going to lose a minion or two in experience. but you'll make up for that by getting the elemental camp. Now, what the enemy team can do to counteract this is they can start in lane and then immediately invade your jungle. Then they're gonna, once they kill the two smalls, they're probably gonna hit level 2, and they're gonna have an advantage over you, so you have to go and do the wave anyway. So even that has its downsides. Going into wave, into the lane, your opponent pretty much has to answer you, or do elementals really quickly and then immediately go and do their buff. Or maybe try and kill you on the rotation, but still. Like, so many confrontations are gonna happen on this side of the map. But anyway, so with solo laner, you either go here with your jungler, or you go here with your jungler. But now there's also another option. Your jungler can completely ignore this side of the map to begin with entirely, and they can walk with mid and hide in the jungle here to ensure they get mid pressure, so that they can guarantee that they not get mid camps necessarily, but they can have control over more areas of the map. So, if your mid laner is freed up, if your mid laner has a pressure advantage, if he has half a level over the enemy and he clears before the enemy mid laner does, that gives you a far bigger advantage in the early game, which is when it really matters, than if your solo laner has lane pressure. If your solo laner has lane pressure, he can invade blue, he can get elementals, and maybe he can invade the speed buff, but that's iffy because the enemy mid laner could rotate in. If your mid laner is ahead, you get mid camps, you get oracle control, you get red buff control, you get fire elemental control, you get speed buff control. There's so much more centralization in the map. So getting your mid laner pressure is a lot more important. And once you clear this wave, you and your mid laner can just immediately go to elementals or blue buff or speed buff or whatever's up. Just make sure your solo laner communicates with that. I personally believe that that's the best solution, unless the enemy are just not very smart and they just go in lane and go to their own blue. Then elementals are probably the smartest choice for the jungler to go to solo laner. But if that's not the case, and you're playing against decent players, I honestly believe that getting this solid mid pressure and then securing your buffs or enemy buffs and getting neutral experience across the map is incredibly important and will probably be the way to go in Season 4. Now, some starts people have been trying to do, and usually with dual lane and mid, they've just been, they've just been going to mid, or going to their lane, rather. Killing minions, like I said, which is honestly the correct play. There's no buff you can really do in time that would benefit you that much, because solo laners generally need blue, junglers generally need speed to rotate here and there and get experience. Not a whole lot of mid laners rely on red buff to clear, and purple buff is just honestly a luxury buff. It's not that important. But, some things that people have been doing, which pretty respectable players, but again, this is a pretty large problem with SMITE and its community itself, is they don't really see the gain and loss from not starting in a lane. Like, with elementals, you're gaining an XP and gold lead, but you're losing a pressure lead in lane. So then they can invade you, you're going to have to just hold that and then go someplace else and get XP that way. Going into mid, you're giving up potential to invade or do some wanky shit or do some unorthodox starts, but you're gaining safe, reliable pressure that you can then apply to this side of the map. But what certain players are doing is they just go, well, fuck that noise, we're just going to do what we used to do, except a little bit different. Instead of starting at speed, they start at blue. Now you're wondering, well, most solo laners need blue, so isn't this a good start? And to be completely honest, yeah, it's a pretty decent start, but at the same time, it's a little bit tankier than elemental camps. It does a little bit more damage than elemental camps, so you're getting a little bit more golden experience and you're getting a buff to your solo laner, and that is honestly pretty good. But at the same time, by the time you're done this, they're done clearing the wave. If they did this start, if they did the elemental start, they could invade you because you can see from here. And that is just disastrous, because camps are even harder to kill now, so them invading you when it's almost dead with a Thor and like an Osiris, yeah, you probably lose that side of the map for the game. But they do blue buff, and then they immediately go into lane. Is the logical thing, because there's a minion wave here, and you're giving up pressure by doing a camp, so we do the elementals, unless they invade, we immediately go into lane. Or the jungler splits off and goes in mid lane, so you can get more experience and not miss out on the minions. But what people are doing for some reason is they're doing blue buff, and then going to speed, and then going to back camps, and by the time back camps are done, the second wave is already fighting, so they just completely give up experience and gold. And I do believe that this brings up a very important issue with Smite and its community, is a lot of the really good players, like mechanically, have no idea what's going on. Like, you need to get this minion experience. Yes, the experience numbers were dropped by 5 for each minion, so that's 30 less experience. Excuse me. That's 30 less experience per wave. But that doesn't mean it's useless. That's just 30 less experience. Yes, you're not hitting level 2 if you clear a minion wave now, as you used to be from mid getting a red buff and clearing a minion wave. Now you clear a buff and a minion wave, it gets you to almost level 2. I'm fairly certain. But that being said, they see the number 30 experience reduced, and they immediately go, oh, minion waves are fucking worthless, let's completely ignore it and just do buffs, and miss a wave and a half of experience and gold. This makes absolutely no sense, and multiple players are doing this. It makes no sense to me. Why would you do that? Yes, back camps are far more valuable now, but like, you can't just give up lane pressure and minions in order to get a back camp. If you need buff secure, your mage is going to be done clearing the wave by the time you're done this nonsense, whatever you're doing over here. You can go get your speed, you can 3-man rotate on it, boom, perfect. Or if your dual lane has pressure and you have like a Geb or something, then boom, they can roll out over here and they can also help you. You can 4-man your own speed if you need to. There are so many good options, as opposed to just, well, I started a buff in Season 3, 1 and 2, so let's start a buff in Season 4. Moral of the story is, minions meet here, minions are important, make sure you recognize that. Pressure is the number one thing you need to look out for, not necessarily gain, but except from the gods that you have picked and the enemy has picked, that you're not going to get pressure in certain areas. Say they have a Fenrir jungle and a tier solo. That's a pretty damn dominant lane. If they start in lane, they could probably kill most other combos. And let's pair you up with a bad combo. Let's say a Loki jungle and an Amaterasu solo. So you are not very aggressive. If you meet in lane with them, you will get pushed under tower, and it would be a waste of time. But if you do the other start, where Loki goes in here with his decoy and helps the mid clear faster and adds more pressure to the mid, then they can rotate on over and get elementals, or mids, or speed, or fight at blue, or get backhands with the soul laner or something. So, concede pressure in certain areas of the map to gain pressure in other areas. It's a pretty simple concept that's always been in Smite, but now, more than ever, it's prevalent in the beginning of the game. Do not, like, just give up on minions. It's 30 less XP and, like, 1 or 2 less gold per minion, I think, unless they change that multiple times, which I think they might have. Anyway, minions are still damn important, very important. You need to get wave experience and gold, even if you're the jungler. 3. What a lot of newer players are talking about is the Bumba's Mask no longer gives you solo gold if you're near someone. So now what they think they do is they just solo every single camp on the fucking map, and that is stupid. There is no other way of saying it. That's just a silly way of thinking. Sharing experience and gold is simply more efficient. Even if you get bonus gold from killing it, that doesn't mean you solo it every time. Yes, you need to make sure you get the killing blow on the minions in order to get the bonus gold and the mana heal. But still, you need to be sharing. Boomba's just got nerfed a little bit. That's fine. It's okay. Boomba's was probably too strong anyway. You would just get it every single game no matter what. And then after that, the 2 roles that have always probably been the most important for applying pressure throughout the map are still support and jungle. Depending on how intelligent, honestly, and how well your players know the game in the jungle and support role, will literally make or break the game. If the support just stays here for the entire game and doesn't do anything, you will probably lose all this side of the map. If all they do is just sit in lane, like a lot of casuals like to do. If your jungler does nothing but do camps and sit around in the tower and just do back camps all day, you're probably going to lose all of this. It's a pretty beaten to death conversation, but with these new changes, it is expected that you use your brain, which is probably why this isn't a very good update for Smite, because You have choices. Before, it was you start here because, and then go here, and then go to the lane, because that's how things worked. Now, these spawn to try and... See, before, it wasn't an option to start in the lane. You had to do something in the jungle, and then go to the lane. Now, it's not a good choice, like I said with the whole blue buff situation, going to speed, doing back caps, that's not a very good choice, but it is a choice. And if you don't know how to play the game, and you see two choices, you go, 50-50, I'll take the other one. But it's not just two choices. There are so many places you can start. You can start at elementals, you can start at mids, which is bad. You can start at speed, which is bad. You could start at blue, which is probably bad. Or you could start in lane. The jungler could start in this lane. The soul laner could start here. There are so many different options now. And honestly, I think that's going to overload most casual players of Smite, because 80 to 90% of the players that play Smite, of the, 20 million active players they have no fucking idea what's going on around them. They see all these things spawn and minions hit at once, and it's like their brains just fry, and they don't know what to do. Or even worse, they don't know what to do, but they say they know what to do, when really they don't. And they just want to talk like they know shit. Like, instead of going, oh yeah, we need pressure in this lane, or oh, the jungler didn't go start at elementals like DM Brandon or Weekend do, oh, he's a retard, oh, he's an idiot, even though he's applying pressure on other sides of the map, or he's getting an enemy's buff or something. At the end of the day, there are multiple choices. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but there's more than one good option. Like I said before, it depends heavily on the pressure gods that you have on your team and they have on their team. It is extremely important to understand what characters are capable of and what enemy characters are capable of. And with that, again, I can't stress this enough. I honestly think that the majority of casual games, the quality of said casual games, is going to dive bomb. Because you're giving the power of choice to the average player in the Smite community. And I don't think anybody really wants that. If this was reverted to how it was before, I would be pretty happy. But yeah, this is a hectic change, but it's already here. We have to deal with it. So here it is. Jungler, solo laner could start here. Jungler and solo laner could start here. Jungler starts here with mid. Solo laner goes to lane, etc., etc. Mid and dual lane start in the lanes. Boom. Oracles are important and worth a lot of gold. Keep that in mind.